Hello, this is Professor BRB, and today we're going to be learning to take a secretarial document typed in Microsoft Word and change it into a piece of professional typography with such features as a drop capital, old style figures, small capitals, correct smart hyphens and apostrophes, and colored subheads. So let's get started. Here is our document in Microsoft Word, and it has been typed by a secretary who did not have access to such professional features as M dashes, which we should have seen right here. It has a few spelling errors and many other things that we want to fix when we prepare it for printing. Going back to InDesign. Going to start with a blank document. Go to File, Place, find our Microsoft Word document, and before we import this into our InDesign document, we want to make sure that we have checked this option, Show Import Option. It's very, very important that you have Use Typographer's Quotes checked, because that will eliminate the dumb or straight inch mark quotes that are the bane of so much bad looking typography. We want to also make sure that Remove Styles and Formatting from Text and Tables is checked, because we do not want any of the styles of Microsoft Word to come into our InDesign document. So I'm just going to click OK here. Click and drag this. To create threaded text, I click on this little red plus here, which indicates that there is additional copy in this frame that isn't showing. Get my loaded cursor and pull this up here. Now I have my copy. And I want to make sure that I turn on Show Hidden Characters so I can kind of see what I've got. And also make sure that you're in your typography workspace here. Let's take a closer look. I can see, first of all, as I look at this document, that it has been typed with 2 spaces after every period or other piece of sentence ending punctuation. And that is correct for secretarial typing, but it is not correct for typography. So rather than go through the document and remove all that by hand, I'm going to use Adobe InDesign's very powerful Find Change. I'm going to go to Find Change here, and there is a custom query, because this happens all the time and people have to do it frequently, that says change multiple space to single space. And I can either search story or document. In this case, I only have one story, so story will be sufficient. I'm going to click Find, and then Change All. And it changed 9 replacements. This would obviously be a huge time saver in a large, long document. So I'm going to click OK there, and click Done. Very important when you start with new copy that you go to the trouble of spell checking. And you might think that it's the client's responsibility to give you perfect copy, but this does not frequently happen. And I have discovered that it saves a lot of trouble and grief to just spell check your copy at the very beginning and make sure you don't have any errors. And I see here I have an error, FO instead of, so I'm going to change that. Oops, I've got a double word there, so I'm going to fix that. That's a non-standard word, so I can just skip that. Skip that. Ooh, and here I have an English spelling of the word colored and a British spelling, and I want the American spelling. So I'm just going to select that here and then hit Change All, and it found 2 copies of that, 2 instances. That's a common, that's a proper name, so I can ignore that. And now I'm done. Next, I want to insert my M dashes and N dashes. And these are special typographic dashes that normal typewriters do not have. And I can see right here, I have a double dash where an M dash should be used. And what an M dash indicates is a break in thought. But most typists don't know how to access them, so they just put in double dashes. And this is such a frequent occurrence that InDesign has also created a special script to automate this for us. So you go to Find Change, and under Query here, the very first of the automatic queries is dash dash to M dash. So we select that, make sure it's set to story, click Find, and then Change All. And it found 2 replacements. And you can see here that now we have a long M dash, which is correct. Also here, where I see a separation of values, 2500 to 3000 BC, I just have an ordinary hyphen here. And this should be an N dash, E-N. An N dash is half the length of an M dash, and it indicates a separation of values. So I don't have an automatic query for this because it's difficult for InDesign to know when a hyphen is indicated and when an N dash. So I'm just going to proofread this to some extent by hand. I'm going to go here, find what, type in a hyphen, and change to, I can choose here, hyphens and dashes, N dash. I'm going to have InDesign search the document, and I'll just decide on a case-by-case basis whether it should be an N dash or a hyphen. So here we go, find. This one should be an N dash, so I'm going to go change. This is a compound word, so I want to leave it the way it is. Find next. This is a separation of values, so that one needs to change. Change. Find next. Compound word, so I ignore that one. Compound word, that should also be ignored. Compound word, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Search complete. Now that we've cleaned up and prepared our copy, we can start making some design decisions and start making our text look wonderful. So I'm going to go to my type tool and put my cursor in here and just go Edit, Select All, and that will select all of my text. And I see that my typeface, the default typeface is Times Roman, and I don't think that's a very interesting typeface, so I'm going to change it to Adobe Caslon Pro Regular, which is an OpenType Pro face, and I know it has a lot of special features that I can make use of. Text type should be in size between 12 point and 9 point, and I can see that this is default set to 12 point, and I'm going to take that down one to 11 point. InDesign automatically calculates the leading, or the space between the lines, to the point size plus 20%. That comes out to 13.2 points. And I'm going to kick that up to 14 points because I like to have my leading be in equal points. It's easier to keep track of. And I also like to have a little bit more space between my lines. Now, I notice here that I have lining figures, and I prefer old style figures, and I know from experience that Caslon Pro has those. So I'm going to select my type again and go to my OpenType menu up here off of my control bar and choose down here at the bottom, Proportional Old Style. And what that did was it changed my numbers, or my figures, to old style, which fits into text a lot better. I also notice I have these 2 big initials here, BC, and I think I will change those to small capitals, which I know Caslon Pro also has. So I'm going to go back to my OpenType menu here, just select those 2 and choose all small caps so that those fit into my text a little bit better. And I like the way that that looks. a lot better. So let's go back to whole page view. And next, I want to create a paragraph style, and that will allow me to make some more edits and to also automate any other changes I might make or automatically apply these settings to any other text I might import. So I'm just going to, actually I can just put my cursor in here. I don't even really have to select all the text. Just put my cursor in that paragraph, and from my paragraph styles panel, choose new paragraph style. And I'm going to call it text. Text Caslon 11. So I know what it is. And click OK. Now that I have specified my leading, I want to go ahead and create a baseline grid that is equal to my leading. And a baseline grid is a very handy thing because in typography, everything is measured from baseline to baseline. And InDesign gives you a default baseline grid that's set to 12 points, but this obviously isn't going to work for us because we have 14-point leading. Fortunately, we can go ahead and customize this. So I'm going to go to InDesign Preferences Grids, and if you're on a Windows machine, the preferences are going to be under the Edit menu rather than the InDesign menu. Go here, and from General, go to Grids, and you can see here it says Baseline Grid, increment every 12 points. So I'm going to change that to 14 point. I'm going to uncheck Grids and Back, and I'm going to see what that did for me. The increment is correct, but it's not starting where I want it to. So I'm just going to drag a rule down here and see where my first baseline grid is. I can see in my Y field at the top that it's at 3 picas 7.8. So remembering that number, I'm going to go back to my grid preferences, and relative to top of page, I have 3 picas there. I'm going to go 7.8 and click OK. Now you can see my baseline grid is just lining up perfectly, and that's exactly what I want. In the next video in this series, we will create a new color swatch in our swatches panel, and we will create a character style for formatting our red subheads here.